same tournament, and its 22nd year running at the National Assembly. And once again, I'm sure you will agree, we're doing it in style. For the 9th year in succession, we are here in this most extraordinary, magnificent cradle of democracy, the Hôtel de l'Essai. Our presence here is due to the current president of this sumptuous palace, to a man who responded immediately and positively to our request for a venue for our final. A man who is representative of the openness and of the transparency of this forum for all citizens, which is the French National Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the French Debating Association and of you all here present this evening, I would like to thank, in the warmest possible of fashions, the President of this great Assembly, Mr. Claude Barthelone, for granting us the opportunity to avail of this magnificent arena for our Feast of Rhetoric. President Barthelone. But 2016 is an extraordinary year for the FDA for other reasons. 2 years ago, we celebrated the 450th anniversary of the birth of one of the English languages and indeed the world's greatest literary figures, William Shakespeare. And this year, we are proud to be directly associated with the first ever Parisian festival to mark the genius of another giant of world literature, my compatriot, fellow cricketer, and graduate of the same university, Trinity College Dublin, Samuel Beckett. There will be more to come on Beckett later this evening, but for the moment, may I just make one passing reference to the great man. And I quote, "Every word is like an unnecessary stain on silence and nothingness," unquote. But were he alive today, I think he would have simply said, "Turn your mobile phones off."
Hear, hear.
However, we certainly neither welcome nor expect silence from the 10 orators who are gathered on either side of me to do rhetorical battle this evening. The two teams present this evening have each won through 3, indeed 4, qualifying rounds to get to this final. And so the winner will truly be the FDA champion of 2016. We are absolutely delighted to welcome our government side this evening, fresh from their semi-final victory over Porté-en-Sorbonne in a wonderful debate held at the Instituto Cultural de México in France. Please welcome the proposition team and former winners of our Covenant Trophy from UNS Ulm, the government. I'll now ask the speakers to stand up and accept their own individual applause. The Prime Minister, Mr. François Strauss-Ski. Second speaker, Mr. Luc L'Hérissi. Third speaker, Mr. Benoît Berthelier. Fourth speaker, Mr. Bill François. And the final speaker and whip for the government this evening will be Ms. Laura Monteani. In our other semi-final, former winners, Super from Toulouse, came up against a team from our most recent recruits, participating in the FDA tournament for the first time this year, and now in our final this evening. The opposition l'Université de Paris-Ouest Nanterre. The leader of the opposition, Ms. Timberly Oussou. The second speaker, Ms. Helena Moulin-Smith. The third speaker, Ms. Flaviana Villela da Silva. Fourth speaker, Ms. Nicole Usucci. And the opposition whip and final speaker, and indeed final official speaker of this evening's debate, Mr. Julien Siré. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please spare a thought for the people who will have the most difficult job this evening, that of choosing the winning team and the best speaker, the very distinguished members of the jury. We have had star-studded juries in the past over the last 23 years of our tournament, but I think it's not going too far to say that this is the most star-studdedest jury we have ever seen. Each of them comes from a different field of competence, be it the domain of politics, diplomacy, administration, the arts, the media, or indeed academia. But each is distinguished by his or her excellence in their own field. First of all, the co-president of the jury, and I'm sure I'm not giving away any secrets if I tell you that her involvement with the French Debating Association goes back to the last century. At that time, when we first met, she was, of course, a teenager, and was on her first long period in Paris, and provided important intelligence to the then Irish ambassador to persuade him to support our association, and indeed, himself be a member of our jury in the past. She's an old friend, but the woman I speak of was not just content to grace us with her presence here this evening. She even went so far as to invite our association to her embassy for one of our two semi-finals. For all these reasons, the French Debating Association is deeply indebted to the Irish ambassador here in France, Her Excellency Geraldine Nason-Byrne. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a real honor and a privilege to introduce our next jury member. He represents a real initiative for the FDA, as he is the first ambassador of a non-Anglophone country to appear on the jury of our final.
Hear, hear.
His presence here this evening is symbolically very important, as he proves that the impact of debating in English goes beyond the borders of Anglophonia. It goes beyond the borders just of English-speaking nations, but embraces an opening and a welcoming world. Indeed, in addition, he also was kindly granted the use of the Mexican Cultural Center here in Paris for our other semi-final. A new, but I hope a lasting friend of the French Debating Association, His Excellency Juan Manuel Gomez Robledo. Debating is indeed an art which mingles many different talents, including diplomacy, communication, and culture. And the following member of the jury brings together all those qualities, for he is indeed the Minister Consular for Public Affairs, Communication, and Culture at the US Embassy here in Paris. He graces us with his presence on this jury to add a special touch, Mr. Philippe Fenn. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here in the Galerie des Fêtes of the Hotel de la Cité, but you are certainly aware that just behind me stand the doors which open up to the Palais Bourbon and to the debating chamber, where decisions are taken daily which have a direct effect upon how this country is governed. The well-oiled machine which allows this process to take place has an extremely long and indeed glorious history. And we are particularly pleased to welcome this evening a person who is at the very heart of the functioning of this mechanism and the operation of this structure. Much of his work goes on behind the scenes, but tonight he has graciously accepted to come out into the open and be a member of our jury. Secretary General of the Question of the French National Assembly, Mr. Christophe Palaise. The French National Assembly is indeed well represented on our jury this evening, because the next member of this illustrious panel is a person who has followed and indeed supported the FDA since our very beginning. He is the very epitome of a dedicated and loyal parliamentary civil servant, but also of a multi-talented and ingenious innovator. I am proud to call him my friend. I'm very honored that he accepted to be a member of our jury this evening. The Director of the Economic and Assessment Department of the French National Assembly, Mr. Philippe Chabot. I mentioned the notion of culture earlier on. I would like to give a very special welcome to the following jury member. Sometimes culture is associated with highbrow, condescending intellectual activities which are not for the ordinary individual or citizen. Our next panelist has broken that image. He is a man who has opened up the world of Oscar Wilde, the universe of Brian Friel, and indeed the planet now of Samuel Beckett to everyone. A man of true communicative genius, and to some extent, a man who is the raison d'etre for our motion tonight. The artistic director of Paris's first ever Samuel Beckett Festival, taking place at this moment, and I encourage you to check out the program of the Commencez Paris Beckett Festival 2016. Mr. Sean Doran. The final member of our jury has a very special position. She was, and since we live in France, therefore still is, officially the Secretary General of the French Debating Association. As you know, everyone is the President of the Secretary General of something in this country. She held this position for 2 years running in 2012 and 2013, and added her own inimitable touch to make the FDA what it is today. We are delighted to welcome her back this evening to occupy a position she most thoroughly deserves as a member of our jury for this evening's final. Ms. Céline Rouquette. In these days of globalization, the FDA has had to adapt itself to new requirements, new demands, and thus we have opened up branches dealing with every imaginable aspect of debating. But I would like to take this opportunity to say a very special word of thanks to two very important people. The real VIPs of this evening's debate, because they are the two people without whom none of us would be present this evening. Our co-timekeepers. As the FDA expands and as our needs increase, it is more and more the case that we call upon exceptional people to deal with exceptional circumstances. Most of you present have little idea of the labor, the stress, the toil that goes into making this event happen. The students, the judges, the teams, the coaches here tonight have an inkling of the work behind the scenes that allows our tournament to be what it is. And thus I have no doubt whatsoever that you will join with me in giving a very special round of applause, not just to our co-timekeepers, change. For the hours, the days, and the months that they have devoted to this tournament and its success. And I would like to present them with a very special medal, to each of them, the Medal of the French National Assembly. Albertine Agnan and Francesco Donini Ferretti. It is indeed fitting that this speech development should take place in France's cradle of oratory, the French National Assembly, but it is even more the case given that the spectacle of rhetoric you are about to witness is based on the rules and the procedures of the Assembly's sister house in the United Kingdom, the House of Commons. For those of you unfamiliar, there may not be too many, but